Hello everyone, this is MSRNDA 2007 here, and this is going to be the first episode of a series on my channel called Radios in Depth. So basically, Radios in Depth is basically going to be like radio reviews, except there are going to be two differences. The first difference is that there's not going to be any sort of deviousness or any of that stuff going on. And number two, I'll go into a few more specifications that are not covered on radio reviews. So with that being said, this is going to be the first radio I'm going to do a review video on. This is the Radio Shack 12247A. Now you may think, well, isn't this a 247B? Because it looks exactly like the 12247B. Well, if I turn this radio around, as you can see, it says 12247A. So, yeah. So yeah, with that being said, let's get started. So, before going into any specifications about this radio, I'm just going to give you a basic overview of it. So, as you can see, it looks like your standard Radio Shack weather radio that you have had in the late 80s to probably 1999, possibly. Yeah. But it does look like your standard weather radio you probably would have had from most weather radio manufacturers from around the late 80s to late 90s. You've got your, just like most older Radio Shack weather radios that don't have a screen, you have your test, alert, and weather button. Now this is in a different arrangement than the most Radio Shack weather radios from around that time, but I'll get into that a little later. Speaker right here. Usually there's a NOAA Weather Radio logo right here. As you can see, it's not on mine. There is this stuff right here which I've tried to wipe off, but I can't. So I'm not sure what that is. So this isn't exactly in the best cosmetic condition. Then if I lower the antenna on the back, looks like most weather radios from around that time did on the bottom. You got your labels, battery compartment, and stuff like that, and your screws to take it apart. And then on the back, standard stuff. Cable is wired into the radio, but I'll get into that later. Channel selection switch. So yeah. Now, with that being said, we'll go ahead and get into the first feature of the radio, which is the siren test. So, the siren on the Radio Shack 12247A and the 12247B. So yeah. Of course, to sound the siren, you press the test button. So that being said, we'll go ahead and press it. And then, instead of like, I may think you just press the alert button to get back to normal. But if an alert comes in, what you have to do is you have to press weather, then alert. And then also, along with the alert, there's an alert lock switch on the back. So if there just happens to be an alert that comes in, instead of sounding the siren for however long it does normally, the siren on mine is not working properly. It's not going off properly when an alert comes in, as you've probably seen in some of my videos. But I think it's supposed to go for like 5 or 6 seconds. But if you have the alert lock feature turned on, then it will sound siren until the weather button is pushed. So I'll go ahead and demonstrate that. As you see here, I'm not pressing the test button. The siren continues sound. So, yeah. So that's the siren test and alert lock feature on the Radio Shack 12247A and 12247B. Okay, so now we will get into the button and slider control placement on the Radio Shack 12247, both the A and B model. So as you saw when I did the general overview, we have 3 buttons on the top, a slider control in the bottom left corner which controls the volume, which also, I forgot to mention this in the siren test portion, but you can't adjust the volume of the siren on this radio. The volume of the siren on this radio is set at one set volume. You can't change it. So, this volume control only controls how loud the broadcast is. So, yeah, there is one disadvantage of this radio. So, yeah. And so, as you can see here, we have the test button, which I used to test the siren. And then we have the alert button, which doesn't do anything at all when the radio is off. And then the weather button, which plays the broadcast. So yeah. And now, getting into the weather button. Now on most radios, like the WR100, WR300, WR120, and radios like that, most of the time, you press the weather button to turn on the broadcast, and then you press the weather button again to turn off the broadcast. On this radio, it's not like it. It sounds like that. When you press the weather button, it turns on the broadcast, but if you press again, it won't turn off the broadcast. You have to press the alert button. So the weather button on here only turns on the broadcast. It does not turn off the broadcast. See? Press it to turn on the broadcast. See, try to turn it off with the weather button. Doesn't work. You have to press alert. That's the only function that that alert button does, is turn off the broadcast. It doesn't turn off the alerting mode or anything like that. In order to turn off the alert mode, you have to completely turn off the radio with this volume slider right here. Which, I forgot to mention, this also functions as the power switch for the radio. And then, on the right side of the radio, we have the slider control that controls the channel, which I'll get into more detail about that in the reception. And on the bottom, we have the alert lock switch, which I demonstrated in the siren test portion. So, now we're going to get into the reception on this radio. So, the reception on the Radio Shack 12247, both the A and B model. So, in this case, it's going to be on the 12247A, since that's what I have. I do not currently own a 12247B, but I'm sure that the same applies to both. So I'll go ahead and raise the antenna up, and we'll go ahead and press the weather button. So that's channel 1, WXK5. And also, this does use the modern channel arrangement. This does use the modern channel arrangement where channel 1 is 162.40 or 162.4, Channel 2 is 162.425, Channel 3 is 162.450, and so on and so forth. So now we're going to turn to Channel 2. There's a little bit of bleed through from WXK5. Channel 3. Can't really get anything. More bleed through from WXK5. So I can't get KJ194 on this. Turn to Channel 4. Nothing. Channel 5. Nothing. Channel 6. Nothing. Oh, that's Channel 5. Do apologize. Still can't get anything. Channel 6. Nothing. Channel 7. Can just barely get KJ195 while we work it.
In Norman, Oklahoma.
So that's KJ195 here. So we're going to listen to this for a moment and see if the station ID plays. And it didn't play. Not a big deal though. So, now we're going to get into the antenna itself. So the antenna on the Radio Shack 12247A and 12247B. So, this has a telescopic antenna. Now, this antenna is not exactly in the best condition. So, yeah. This is telescopic. Now, most people think that telescopic is like this, where it can go 360 degrees. Like this. Like the antenna on the WR300. But this just can only move left and right. It can't move front and back. Now, most people think that, like I said, a telescopic antenna means that it's like the antenna on the WR300 and they go left, right, up, and down. That's not what telescopic means. Telescopic is the actual antenna part like this. Because if you think about it, this kind of telescope. So, I'm sure that you've seen either on national news or something like that. You've probably seen professional photographers use these telescopes that extend. This kind of same thing, because you know the antenna can extend, and this could be the viewing area that you use to see up and this kind of like the front of it. You know, the part that faces up towards the sky. So that's the definition of telescopic antenna. Now in this case, this has 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 extendable links on it. I don't know why I said it extendable. That was an accident. But hey, we'll make mistakes. It's not that big of a deal. So yeah, this has 4 extendable links, and then, like most Radio Shack radios, has the famous antenna. Sorry about that. Has the famous antenna. It's got the large dome at the top, just like the antenna on the 12519. So yeah, now in my case, this dome up here on top is kind of bent, but it's not that big of a deal. The radio still works. So yeah. Now we'll go ahead and get into the speaker quality on this radio. So the speaker quality on the Radio Shack 12247A and B. Oops. Particularly on the 12247A, since that's what I have here. Like I said, I don't have 12247B, but I do have 12247A. So we're going to take a look at speaker quality by listening to WXK5. So, turn it off. Broadcast playing. So that's like probably about a third of the way up. 2/3 full volume. So the speaker on this, the speaker quality is not exactly the best. It's definitely not the best I've ever heard. But at least you can hear the broadcast semi-clearly. It kind of sounds a little bit distorted, a little bit tinny. But then again, most people who aren't EAS enthusiasts that buy a weather radio aren't going to be using it to listen to the broadcast every single day. You only see that on rare occasion, where a non-weather / EAS enthusiast buys a weather radio and uses it to listen to the weather forecast every day. Most people just set them up and just wait for them to go off. So, yeah. So now I'm going to get into one of the things that isn't covered on radio reviews. And also one of the things that gives Radios in Depth its name. And that is the power sources. So there are 2 ways you can power this radio. The first way, which is what most people are probably powering it by, is an AC outlet. So here's the cord for it. Power cable is fixed into the radio. So you can remove the power cord on this. But also, you can power it by a 9-volt battery. Let me go ahead and just lower this antenna. And then, here's the 9-volt battery slot. In this case, I do actually have 9 volt in there, which actually I am probably going to take out. I actually just put this 9 volt in here for testing. I'm going to take that out. I was just using it to test this 9 volt. which came out of one of our smoke alarms. And for some reason, the smoke alarm was chirping for some reason. So I thought that battery may be completely dead, but I put it in here. And when I put it in, the alert light, or the light that's on the alert button, lit up. So the battery is still good. So, yeah. So those are two ways you can power this radio. So now we're going to get into my general opinion on this radio. Okay, so before I get into giving my general opinion on this radio, there's one thing I forgot to showcase in the antenna part of the video. Although I don't feel like re-recording it, so I'm just going to show it now. There is a external antenna port on this radio, so you can be able to connect a external antenna. So if you don't, so this one isn't exactly working for you. You can be able to connect either one of those RCA antennas they use for TVs. Well, isn't exactly the best, but I'm sure it'll probably work. It isn't exactly professional, but at least those are relatively available and don't cost as much as the Midland 18289W, I believe that is. Whatever the external antenna is that Midland sells for weather radios. So, yeah, I do apologize for forgetting about that feature when I did the antenna part. But at least I remembered before I finished the video. Okay, so now I'm going to be giving my general opinion on the Radio Shack 12247A. Now, of course I can't give my opinion on the 12247B because I don't have that. I have the 12247A. But I'm pretty sure it's basically the same. So my opinion on this, it's a pretty good little radio. Now there is one thing that I do need to discuss that I do consider to be kind of a major issue. And that when alert comes in, the siren doesn't sound properly. What I mean by that is it only does little chirps like this. That's not how the siren is supposed to sound when an alert comes in. The siren is supposed to sound like what it sounds like when you use the siren test feature. So, and it's not that big of an issue for me because like I said before, this is my primary weather radio. But it is something I do consider to be kind of a major issue. Although in my case, it isn't, really. So yeah, other than that, this is a pretty good little radio. Now, would I recommend this to someone who's just starting out collecting weather radios? You know, who's getting their first ever weather radio? No. Personally, I don't recommend that anyone who is starting to collect weather radios get this as their first ever weather radio for a couple of reasons. Now, of course, Radio Shack has been out of business for quite a few years, although there is a company who now has the Radio Shack logo and rights to the logo. So yeah, obviously they're no longer manufacturing this, which of course means there's no longer support for it. And even still, even before, Radio Shack had stopped manufacturing this a few years before they ran into financial issues. So, yeah. Sorry, I thought I heard a weird noise. But yeah. So, considering they're no longer manufacturing this, and there's no longer support for it, that's one reason why I don't recommend someone getting this as their first ever weather radio. Now, you can still find the user's manual or owner excuse me, let me try to say this properly. You can still find the owner's manual or user's manual or what. Jesus Christ, I can't speak today. You can still find the owner's manual or user's manual or whatever you want to call it relatively easy. In fact, if you go to my website, which is linked in the description below, then you'll be able to find it. So if you go to my website, which is sites.google.com, so that's sites, sites, google.com/view view/MSRNDA 2007. So once again, my website is S as in Sierra, I as in India, T as in Tango, E as in Echo, S as in Sierra, dot, G as in Golf, O as in Oscar, O as in Oscar, G as in Golf, L as in Lima, E as in Echo, dot, C as in Charlie, O as in Oscar, M as in Mike, slash, V as in Victor, I as in India, E as in Echo, W as in Whiskey, slash, M as in Mike, S as in Sierra, R as in Romeo, A as in Alpha, N as in November, D as in Delta, A as in Alpha, 2007. And then when you get to my website, what you'll do is click in the top right corner, I believe it is. Or not, maybe on the top. Oh no, let me actually check that real quick. Here we are, here's my website. Loading up. Here we are, here's my website. So if you're on a phone like I am, then you'll go up here to the top left corner. Although if you're on something like a Windows computer or something, it'll probably show up at the top. But in my case, top left, you'll scroll down to manuals, click on it, and it'll load momentarily. And then you'll go down to Radio Shack manuals, click it. It'll take you to this website, which has manuals for all sorts of weather radios. So you'll scroll down. In this case, if you're looking for the manual for this, you'll scroll down. Yeah, I think I scrolled past it. Who knows? Okay, so I don't see the manual for this on this particular website. So, yeah. Who knows, I may have to put another link, and just ignore this. This was for a video that I was going to try to do, but canceled. So, yeah, it's just severe weather levels. And then Google has this weird thing. I think it's for Black History Month, since it is February. It is February 18th, 2021 at 11:30 p.m. as I'm recording this video. So yeah, it's just severe weather levels. So yeah, I just want to confirm that it is severe weather levels and that I am not gay. Just wanted to put that out there. I just wanted to clarify, I'm not gay. Anyways, so yeah, I'll probably add a different link in probably later on. Although probably by the time this video is out, I'll probably have already changed it. So yeah. So yeah, that's another reason why, like I said, the manual's still relatively available online. You can probably find it easily, well, moderately easy. But another thing is the power sources of this radio. Now, for experienced weather area collector like me or Ari, also known as Derpy Fire Alarms, or Michael, also known as Clay Ranger 143 and stuff, this is a bad. Experienced weather area collectors can deal with this, but if you are getting this as your first ever weather area, one thing I'll run into is, of course, that number one, this radio takes 9-volt batteries, which, as you saw, I did have 9-volt batteries in this. This takes a 9-volt battery. A 2-pack of 9-volt batteries is about $6 to $9. So 9-volt batteries are expensive. But also, the power cord for this is wired into the radio. You can't remove the power cord. You can only remove it from the plug side, where you plug it in to the outlet. You can't remove it from the radio side. It's not like the WR300 with the removable power cable rather. Well, what I meant was it has a power jack on it, so you'd be able to plug in different cables to it as well in case you lose the cable for it. Say your dog chews on the cable for this radio and the radio stops working. You aren't going to be able to replace the power cable unless you take the radio apart and desolder the old power cable and solder a new one. And also, with a hardwired cable, you can't change out the cable unless you take the radio apart, desolder the old one, and solder a new one. With that design flaw, I'm going to call it. Well, I'm not sure if it's a design flaw or not. Personally, I think it is. And because you have a cable hardwired into the radio, you're kind of limited at how far the radio can be from the outlet. Now, in this case, the power cable is decently long. But, once again, it's not like radios like the WR300, where if the power cable that comes with it isn't long enough to reach an outlet from where you want to put it, you could be able to get a different cable from a third party, and that's a longer length. So you'd be able to put the radio further away from the outlet. So, yeah. But then again, you could use a extension cord, but that's not exactly ideal. So, yeah. So, yeah, overall, my general opinion on this radio, it's pretty good. I wouldn't recommend this to someone as their first ever weather radio, because the complaints I just listed off. But if further down the line, once you've gotten a few weather radios and you've gotten used to them, then you could probably get it. But definitely don't get it as your first ever weather radio. So yeah. Anyways, that'll be it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. And have a wonderful day.